My cousin had an affair with my husband while I was pregnant, and now she's gone. Hey, beautiful people. Before we dive deeper, tell me, where are you watching from? I love seeing how far our little story family reaches across the world. Don't be shy. Drop your country or city in the comments below. And while you're there, let me know what you think about today's story. And hey, if you've made it this far, you might as well hit that like button and subscribe. You know you want to. My name is Jessica, and for a long time I believed my home was built on love, loyalty, and trust. I was 29, married to a man named Roy, and expecting our first child, a little miracle I had prayed for. When my cousin Sarah called me one evening, crying that her life had fallen apart, I didn't hesitate. She had just lost her job, her relationship had ended badly, and she had nowhere else to go. I told her, "Come stay with me. You'll be safe here." Sarah was only 24, and I loved her like a younger sister. Growing up, she was the shy one, always clinging to me during family gatherings. So when she arrived, I was genuinely happy to have her around. She cooked, helped with errands, and kept me company when Roy was busy with work. I remember thinking how lucky I was to have a husband who cared, a baby on the way, and a cousin who treated me like her own sister. But looking back, I see the signs I chose to ignore. It started small. Laughter between Roy and Sarah that felt a little too easy. A shared glance that lingered a second too long. Late-night conversations in the living room when I was already in bed. I'd walk in and they'd go quiet. I told myself I was overthinking. I was pregnant, hormonal, and tired. Maybe I was being paranoid. But sometimes my gut twisted in ways I couldn't explain. One evening, I saw Sarah wearing Roy's hoodie. She smiled, saying she was cold. I smiled back, but something deep inside me broke a little. Still, I brushed it off. She was my cousin. He was my husband. What harm could there be? The weeks went by and my belly grew. Sarah was there every step of the way, holding my hand during doctor appointments, helping me decorate the nursery. She even cut my hair one afternoon, laughing about how she was practicing to be a good wife someday. I didn't know she already was. To my husband. At that time, I had no idea that the two people I loved most were sharing a secret that would shatter my world. I don't think anything truly prepares you for betrayal. Not from a stranger, not even from a friend, but from the two people you trusted most in the world, your own husband and your own blood. After I gave birth to my baby boy, life was supposed to be beautiful. I imagined quiet nights rocking him to sleep, Roy kissing my forehead, Sarah helping me with late-night feedings. And at first, that's how it was. But then, something changed. Roy became distant. He stayed out longer, claimed he was working late, avoided eye contact when I spoke. Sarah, on the other hand, had grown withdrawn. She used to chatter about everything, makeup, recipes, random gossip. But now she barely spoke. Sometimes I'd catch her staring at nothing, lost in thought. One evening, I walked into the living room and saw Roy and Sarah sitting unusually close together on the couch. Their faces changed instantly when they saw me. Roy got up too quickly, muttering something about checking on the baby. That night, I lay in bed beside him, my heart pounding. The thought came uninvited, like a whisper in the dark. Could there be something going on between them? I hated myself for even thinking it. This was Sarah, my cousin. Someone I brought into my home. She wouldn't do that to me, right? But the feeling wouldn't go away. It grew like a sickness. One afternoon, while doing laundry, I accidentally picked up Roy's phone. I wasn't snooping, at least that's what I told myself. But when I saw a message that said, "We can't keep doing this," followed by a heart emoji, my stomach dropped. It wasn't from a random number, it was from Sarah. My knees went weak. I sat there for minutes, staring at the screen, praying it was some kind of misunderstanding. When Roy came home that night, I couldn't speak. I couldn't even look at him. I confronted Sarah instead. I'll never forget the look on her face when I asked, "Are you having an affair with Roy?" She froze. Her eyes filled with tears, but her lips stayed shut. No denial, no words, just silence. I begged her, "Please, Sarah, tell me this isn't true. Tell me you didn't sleep with my husband." She turned away, covering her face. That silence, it was louder than any confession. I remember running to my room, locking the door, and collapsing to the floor. I couldn't even cry at first. It was like every bone in my body turned to ice. Later that week, I called our families. I didn't know what else to do. I needed the truth. I needed someone to make it make sense. When Sarah's parents came, everything fell apart. She finally admitted it. She was pregnant, and Roy was the father. I don't remember much of that night, just screaming, crying, and the sound of my baby wailing in the next room. My mother tried to hold me, but I pushed her away. I didn't want comfort. I wanted answers. Roy begged for forgiveness. He said it was a mistake, that it just happened, that he didn't mean to hurt me. But what do you say to that? How do you forgive a man who broke your trust in the most personal way? Sarah couldn't even look at me. She left the next morning with her parents, and I never saw her again. The silence she left behind was heavier than her presence ever was. Every room felt cold, tainted. Even my baby's laughter couldn't drown out the ache in my chest. I would lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, asking myself over and over, what did I do wrong? Was I not enough? But deep down, I knew. This wasn't my fault. I gave them love, trust, and a home, and they gave me betrayal in return. Still, even knowing that, it didn't stop the pain. It had been months since Sarah left. Months since the truth came out and my marriage shattered into 1,000 pieces. Roy was still in the house, but he wasn't with me anymore. We spoke only when it was about the baby. Every word felt heavy, every silence louder than a scream. Sometimes I'd catch him staring at me, his face full of regret, but I couldn't bear to look back. I was broken. There were days I'd hold my baby and just cry. Not because of him, but because of what his father had done. I wanted to move on, but every corner of my home reminded me of betrayal. The kitchen where I'd see Roy and Sarah laughing. The living room where she'd rub my belly and say she couldn't wait to be an aunt. Even the smell of Roy's perfume made me sick, and yet a part of me still missed her. That was the hardest part to admit. Sarah wasn't just my cousin. She was the sister I never had. The one I shared secrets with growing up. The one who used to braid my hair when I was sad. Losing her to betrayal was like losing a piece of my childhood. Then, one morning, my mother called. I could tell something was wrong just from the way she breathed before speaking. "Jessica," she said softly. "Sarah, she's gone." I froze. "Gone?" I whispered. "What do you mean gone?" "She went into labor last night," my mother said, her voice trembling. "There were complications." "She didn't make it." For a moment, I couldn't speak. It was like the world stopped spinning. My cousin, the same cousin I had loved, trusted, and hated all at once, was gone. Just like that. I sat on the floor, clutching my baby to my chest, and screamed until my throat burned. I didn't even know what I was feeling. Was it grief? Was it guilt? Was it anger all over again? I felt everything and nothing at once. Later, I found out she had given birth to a baby boy. He survived. Her parents were raising him in the village. That night, I couldn't sleep. I just stared out the window, remembering the last time I saw her face. She was quiet, eyes full of tears, carrying her shame and fear in silence. And now she was gone, without ever saying sorry, without ever hearing me say goodbye. I wanted to hate her, but all I could do was cry, because beneath all the anger, there was still love. Still that bond we shared before everything went wrong. I looked at my own baby sleeping peacefully and thought of hers, growing up without a mother. And for the first time, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Pity. Maybe Sarah was young and foolish. Maybe she got lost in a moment she couldn't undo. Maybe she carried her own pain too. That night, I found myself whispering a prayer for her. Not a prayer of forgiveness, not yet, but one for peace. For her soul, and maybe, eventually, for mine. Grief is strange. It doesn't come like a wave. It seeps in quietly, like rain through cracks. It softens even the hardest anger. And though part of me wished she had lived to face what she'd done, another part of me knew she had already suffered enough. When I finally lay down, I realized something. My story with Sarah wasn't just about betrayal. It was also about loss, and the love that refuses to die, even when everything else does. People talk about forgiveness like it's a door you just open, as if all you have to do is decide and the pain disappears. But it's not like that. Forgiveness, I've learned, isn't a single act. It's a slow, messy process. It's waking up every day with a heavy heart and still choosing not to let bitterness define you. After Sarah's death, I walked around like a ghost. I didn't know how to feel. My cousin was gone, but the wound she left was still bleeding. Roy tried to talk to me. He said he wanted to make things right, that we could start over. But every time I looked at him, all I could see was what he took from me. So, one morning, I told him to leave. He didn't argue. He just packed his things and went. And when the door closed behind him, I cried. Not because I missed him, but because I was finally letting go. The house felt quieter without him. Emptier, but peaceful. I started spending more time outside, walking with my baby, sitting under the tree in our yard, just breathing again. It was during one of those quiet afternoons that I realized I hadn't thought about revenge in weeks. I wasn't checking on him. I wasn't replaying arguments in my head. I was healing, slowly, in my own way. But healing doesn't mean forgetting. There are still nights when I wake up crying, when I see Sarah's face in my dreams, smiling the way she used to before everything went wrong. Sometimes I imagine what life would have been like if none of it had happened. If she was still alive, if Roy had been faithful, if our family hadn't fallen apart. But then I remember, maybe this was the only way for me to learn what strength truly means. A few months later, Sarah's parents visited. They brought her baby, my cousin's son. When I saw him for the first time, my heart broke all over again. He looked so much like her. Same eyes, same tiny lips. I couldn't stop crying as I held him. I felt something shift inside me, something I can't even explain. That was the moment I knew forgiveness wasn't about saying, "It's okay." It was about saying, "I'll carry love where pain used to live." I decided to help support Sarah's baby in whatever way I could. He didn't ask to be part of this story. He didn't deserve the shadow of our mistakes. Maybe, in some way, helping him would bring me peace. Now, when I look at my own child and hers, I don't see betrayal anymore. I see two innocent lives, proof that even out of heartbreak, something good can still exist. Some days, I still write letters I'll never send. To Sarah, I write, "I forgive you." Not because you asked me to, but because I want to breathe again. To Roy, I write, "I hope you've learned what love really means." And to myself, I write, "You survived. You're stronger than you think. Life didn't turn out the way I imagined, but maybe it's okay. Maybe forgiveness doesn't erase the past. Maybe it simply gives you the strength to live with it." So, if you're listening to my story right now and you've been hurt by someone you trusted, I want you to know this. Healing doesn't mean pretending it never happened. It means deciding that the pain won't control you anymore. And that's where I am now. Not completely healed, not entirely free, but breathing again, and that's a start.
Thank you.